Hello, everyone. Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Tuesday. I hope the day is going well, wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. Thank you, as always, for joining me. I hope you're all good. Plenty to talk about today, loads to talk about today. In fact, got so many of your questions and comments to get through because family stuff came up yesterday, unexpected family stuff in the morning that I had to deal with, which meant I couldn't do my normal show. Fortunately, I had the pre-recorded Martin Zubimendi special of Alex Kirtland from ESPN ready to go. So I was able to put that out. So you still got something to watch and listen to yesterday, but I wasn't able to do my usual Inside Arsenal show. So everything that I had sort of prepared for that show in terms of some of the questions, I'm going to go through those today as well and a few more. So plenty of those to get stuck into. We're going to talk about Benjamin Sesko and the latest with him. We're going to talk about Martin Zubimendi as well, which is just a big drama being created pretty much all from Madrid. Arsenal side, as I've reiterated every time I've been asked about it on this show, is just be calm. Everyone's confident he is going to be an Arsenal player next season. So we'll talk about that as well. Got plenty of other things to get stuck into. So yes, we've got just to flag up. I'm going to be recording Inside Arsenal Extra Time with James Benj a little bit later on today as well. So that's coming later on this evening, and we'll be talking about Benjamin Sesko in that show. So that's a place to start today because lots of stuff doing the rounds with Sesko. Now, this is a really crucial week for Arsenal in terms of Benjamin Sesko and how things are going to develop. Talks are going on at the moment this week regarding Sesko, and it feels from the noise that we're hearing anyway that this could well be a real sort of pivotal week when it comes to this deal and Arsenal trying to get it over the line. Now, we've started to hear stuff about interest from Saudi Arabia, and again, I'm sitting down with James Benj later on for Inside Arsenal Extra Time, and as regular viewers of this channel know, James is very well connected when it comes to Saudi Arabian football and their transfer targets, and he revealed yesterday that there was interest from Saudi in Benjamin Sesko. That's since been followed up widely from elsewhere. So we're going to get the very latest from James on that. My personal view on it, I'd be very surprised if Benjamin Sesko is interested in a move to Saudi. I mean, obviously money can sway anyone's thoughts, but Sesko and his team have been very strong on his development being absolutely key, which is why he didn't make the move to Arsenal last summer anyway, because he wanted to stay, be sure of getting plenty of game time at RB Leipzig to continue his development so he can get to the very top. So I'd be surprised at the age of just 22 if they decided to up sticks, leave Europe, sort of get rid of the whole development path that they had very clearly laid out for him and then go over to Saudi Arabia. So I'd be very surprised. But of course, look, when the sort of sums of money that are going to be on offer come into it, then you never know what's that can do to someone's thinking. But as I said, I'd be very surprised. And I do think that this is going to be, I'll be very shocked if we get to the end of this week and we haven't seen a pretty clear development in what's happening with Benjamin Sesko. I really do feel like this is going to be crucial. The talks that are happening right now this week, I think are being done with an aim of getting things over the line. I do have a little suspicion, purely just a hunch, journalistic hunch, that this Saudi Arabia stuff, and this happens quite a bit in the murky world of transfers, sometimes it feels like you see something and you think, yeah, that feels like a bit of a get a move on type move from someone. And I do just wonder if this Saudi Arabia stuff has been sort of started to emerge as a bit of a kick up the backside to Arsenal, whether that's from Leipzig's side, whether it's from Sesko's side, of a you need to pull your finger out here a little bit. This has been going on for a while now. Let's try and get this one over the line. Again, that is just purely a hunch. I don't know that for a fact, but it did when I saw it. It did sort of get my radar up a little bit. But yeah, the new talks happening this week, and I really do think by the end of this week, I think we'll start to see a pretty clear picture of how this hunt for Sesko is going to develop with Arsenal. So yeah, really crucial time for him. Again, like I said, if you want to ask any questions on Sesko and the Saudi stuff, then do so. Get down into the comments below, start with Inside Arsenal, or start with Extra Time, and get a comment for James about it and whether, how much truth there is to this sort of stuff, anything like that. Just get down into the comments. Extra Time, give me a question, give me a comment, and we'll get stuck into it a little bit later on in the show. Right, from one big transfer target to another, Martin Zubimendi. Wanted to talk about him on yesterday's show before I had to scrap all the plans for that. because of his performance for Spain in the Nations League final, ultimately ended up on the losing side because Portugal won on penalties. Congratulations to them. But I thought Martin Zubimendi was a really, really impressive figure in that game. I thought it really sort of obviously scored, which always helped, and that's not something you sort of normally associate with Martin Zubimendi because he doesn't score many goals. But even the way he scored that goal, the sort of the driving run he made from deep, and then he carried on that run and got into the penalty area and was able to pick up the scraps when the ball fell to him. That sort of run, we saw a lot from him in that game. It's something maybe you don't really, again, associate with Zubimendi. He's normally sort of sit in front of the back four, keep the ball moving, receive the ball from deep, turn, get it off keeper, get it off defender, turn and bang, split the lines with a pass and get Spain or Sociedad moving, anything like that. But I think we saw more in that game against Portugal, more from him in terms of what he could potentially offer to this team. I thought he was very, very good in the game, not just a goal. So I thought that was an impressive performance. Obviously, we've had loads of noise since then. Basically, we've seen the front page of Marca today splattered with, I think it's Operation Zubimendi is the front page of Marca. There's been lots and lots of stuff emerging from Spain about a phone call that has changed everything and changed Zubimendi's mind and all of that. And I get it. It's tough to listen to or tough to see as Arsenal fans when you just want this summer window to be a successful one and to be a smooth one. And then suddenly you see this player who you think you're signing apparently being lured away to someone else. I don't think it helps because of what happened last summer with Zubimendi as well in the Liverpool move and how he sort of changed his mind at the last minute. I've seen it on the Inside Arsenal Discord server. There's been lots of chat on it. I keep dipping in there and trying to calm everyone down and just reiterating what I've been told on Zubimendi. And I can only reiterate that again now, is that Arsenal are very calm about the situation. They think he is done and will be an Arsenal player, just obviously waiting for the medical, and then it's gonna happen. We're so far down the line of it that everyone's calm amid the noise. I've seen David this morning has again tweeted that stance. They think Arsenal think it's done and signed, and that he will start link up at the start of pre-season training and be an Arsenal player. And he's also said that Real Madrid sources from Madrid have sort of told The Athletic that they're not really pursuing it anyway. So yeah, I know it's difficult in these times of transfers and the madness and how much you see sort of shoved onto your timeline, differing views from other people. And of course, until something is officially done and every single box has been ticked, you can never say for absolute certain. But in Zubimendi's case, I can only say what I've been told, and that is there is very real confidence that he is. There is no nerves apparently emerging from Arsenal over this one. Zubimendi, they think, will be an Arsenal player. It is done and already sorted, barring the medical and the old classic picture with him. I did as I said at the start of this, I managed to put it out yesterday. I have done a special with Alex Kirtland from ESPN, who's the Madrid-based correspondent for them. And we did a special on Zubimendi, what it will bring to Arsenal, how he could transform things a little bit, change things. We also talk a little bit about Rodrigo in that video. So that's out. That was out yesterday. If you haven't watched or listened to it yet, you can just go back. It's really good insight from Alex into Zubimendi. If you haven't seen that much of him, well worth a watch or a listen. If I do say so, of course, myself. Elsewhere, Marquinhos has now officially completed his move to Cruzeiro. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the picture of him there, proudly showing off his new shirt. Arsenal have announced it on their website yesterday in a permanent transfer for him. Arsenal just about getting their money back on Marquinhos, which, to be fair, I'm actually quite impressed with. I didn't think Arsenal would get any money for him. I think it was a worthwhile attempt of a move. It's one that maybe we don't see enough when it comes to Arsenal. A lot of them don't pay off. This one didn't really pay off. Bright signs early on, but it never quite materialized into anything more than that. But I think it was a worthwhile transfer. It didn't break the bank for him. They ended up getting their money back on him. So good luck for him. But it is the end of Marquinhos' time at Arsenal. Right, we're going to talk about some of the questions and comments and reaction now from you guys. As I said, I've got plenty to rattle through today because I wanted to get as much of it in as I could, given I couldn't do yesterday's show. This is on reaction to the Kepa deal, or the Kepa deal that is being worked on by Arsenal. Hopefully Arsenal will be triggering that 5 million release clause and he will be signed up as David Raya's number 2. We spoke about that on Sunday's show, and this is what some of you guys were reacting to it. Simon says, on the surface, Kepa seems like a fantastic deal. But doesn't anyone remember the time he refused to be subbed off the pitch by Sarri in the 2019 Carabao Cup? He has always appeared arrogant and having an attitude which has undoubtedly contributed to his lower transfer fee and wages. I can't help but wonder how that would mesh with the humility and togetherness Arteta has brought into the team. I don't know. I mean, that was 2019. That was 6 years ago. He was a very young goalkeeper at that time. He also had the weight of the world transfer fee on his back at that point. I think he seems to have mellowed out. I think he went to Madrid, was a very able number 2 there, didn't kick up any fuss too much, and any as far as I'm aware, and was very, very good as a number 2 there. He's gone down to Bournemouth, which was, fair play to brilliant side Bournemouth, and they showed that last season. But when you've been used to Chelsea and Madrid, would Bournemouth be that appealing? He went, he took that opportunity, and he played really, really well there. So I think, I don't think anyone's forgotten. I don't think anyone can forget that 2019 Carabao Cup final because it was such a mad thing to watch in real time. But it was a long time ago. I think he's very much mellowed out. He's a lot more experienced and an older player now. So I don't really have too many worries with that. And he also knows exactly what he's getting when he's coming here. He knows he's going to be number 2. There's no doubt about that. And he seems to be willing to accept the challenge of that. Sam says, very surprised we're able to get Kepa. I would expect that with a 5 million release clause, he'd be a viable upgrade option for many clubs, and he'd want to be playing full-time as first choice, or at least possible first choice. I'm impressed with this signing. Great backup. Fuzzy says Kepa is a shrewd piece of business. He does have to play enough games through the season, though, or he won't stay relevant enough to cover for Raya should he get injured. He has to have opportunity to build relationships in match situations or a reliability to some extent. The season before last one was the only difference in winning and coming second on the final day. Those are the margins. I think he'll play. Neto would have played more had he not been cup tied for the Carabao Cup, which is still mad to think about how that signing ended up panning out. And a very symbolic of Arsenal's summer transfer window, really. But I think Kepa will play. There's no doubt. I think he'll probably play in all the cup games, FA Cup and the League Cup. And I wouldn't be surprised also. I know Mikel wants to go very, very strong, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see him in some Champions League games. Maybe not all, maybe not the first few when there's really, really, they're really important. You try and sort of nail your place down in that league format. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see plenty of Kepa in the Champions League phase. And Dumuna says, one thing I've noticed is that when it involves Arsenal, everyone complains. Fans, rivals, pundits, everyone. It gets tiring at a point. Very well said. Yeah, as I said, I don't understand any Arsenal fan complaining about this deal for a number 2 goalkeeper. It baffles me. It honestly does. I think if you're complaining about this, as I said, I don't know what makes you happy in the transfer window, because this is just a really shrewd, good piece of business if it happens. Getting a very good, experienced goalkeeper at a nothing price, who's still young, young for a goalkeeper, 30, loads of experience in England, in Spain. I don't get it. I don't get. Only thing is a Chelsea connection, but so you're getting a good keeper, good backup keeper for £5 million. It's a really good deal in my view. Will here says, hey, Charles, love the work and long-time fan. First time commenting. And I have a couple of questions like every fan. Sorry. Personally, I think Kepa is a great second choice, but I didn't realise he's 30. Thinking about the future, are we going to be looking for a new goalkeeper again in a few seasons? I understand longer careers, but do you think we'll have to dip back into the market within the next 5 years? Or I hope the youngsters Porter, Setford will be ready. I think it's just kind of a given with a second choice keeper. It changes a lot. Look at Liverpool. They're doing it this summer. Kelleher stayed for a while and then he's gone to Brentford. So Liverpool are sorting out their goalkeeper. Man City have been doing it as well of late. Spurs, I think, have as well. So I just think keepers do change a lot. Arsenal, I think, more than most in recent years. You don't want to see that amount of churn. I don't think that's really very good. But I think in every sort of few years, as you say, I think there's just always going to be a little bit of churn in that goalkeeping situation. And also Arsenal do have youngsters, as you said, Setford in particular, who I think will probably go out on loan this season, is very highly rated. And I think maybe in a couple of years' time, he'll be absolutely ready to make that step up to be number 2. You then say, regarding Sesko, Gyökeres, if we sign one of them, I think the big dilemma is Havertz and who starts next season. Do you think it'll be like the goalkeeper situation and wait till the international break and then they'll come in? Or do you think it'll be a bit more rotational or something completely different? I hope they can cope with the pressure. I mean, it depends, I suppose, in pre-season. If one of them comes in, hits the ground running, if it is Sesko, which it looks a lot more likely to be at this point, if he comes in in pre-season, hits the ground running, scores a load of goals, and I think he probably starts at the start of next season. But if it is a case of settling him in, which I think, realistically speaking, you would imagine that will be the case. That is a new sign, any young player coming to London for the first time, he will need to settle in a little bit and give a bit of breathing space. That, and Arteta will be perfectly fine starting Havertz in the first few games of next season. I think Havertz is going to play loads of football next year. Whoever signed, even if Arsenal got out on the best striker in the world, Havertz would still play loads next season. He will. Arteta loves him. The team love him. The team love playing with him. So this is absolutely not the end of Kai Havertz at Arsenal. And Harry's got in touch, says, why is the club not considering Karl Hein as a number 2 keeper? He's more than ready. I don't get it. I think more the key thing here is that Karl Hein will not want to be number 2. Now, he's been around for a long, long time now. He's an international with Estonia. Played last night in the against Norway. Actually, Martin Odegaard and Erling Haaland combined to get one past him, and Norway won 1-0. And he played loads last season in Spain, and I just not sure. I think it's tough to get Hein to be number 2 now. I think at his age, he kind of just wants to go out and play. And I wouldn't be surprised if Arsenal use this opportunity to sell Karl Hein this summer and try to make a bit of money on him. Aurora Freak says, hey, Charles, my question, do you have any information about the Visit Rwanda deal? As I heard, it runs out at the end of the month. Will it be extended? I won't order a new shirt if we get a new sponsorship deal for the sleeves. No, I think it's sticking around for the season. I think there's at least one more year left on the Visit Rwanda deal. Jason says, good morning, Charles. First off, I'm firmly team Sesko. Sensibly, though, I'm not rioting if we sign Gyökeres or a different striker. My question is about Osimhen. He's the same age as Gyökeres. 2 seasons ago, he was just as lethal in Italy and the Champions League from open play. Isn't he a safer option than Gyökeres, with Serie A being much stronger than the Portuguese league with only 62.5 million release clause? Why haven't we expressed any interest in him as an option? I don't know, to be honest. Why? I can't sit here and definitively say why Arsenal haven't gone for Osimhen. But I reported a while back that there was interest in him. Arsenal had talks with him and his agent the summer that Gabriel Jesus was signed, but Arsenal ended up going down the Jesus route. Jesus was always the number 1 target, but they did hold talks with Osimhen at that point. So what was that, 3 years ago? And I've never heard since then that that interest has sort of remained. So I can't tell you a reason why. I don't know. But I just know there was once interest, but they moved on from that interest. So it's we can all have our sort of thoughts, I suppose, on it, on why it might be the case. But I really, it'd be impossible for me to say definitively why that is the case. A Chicken Dipper says, good morning, Charles. Have you seen the news that Lazio are asking between 30 and 40 million euros for Nuno Tavares to go to Juventus or Saudi Arabia? Seriously, that's embarrassing on Arsenal's part. Why are we so bad at selling players and taking 20 years to buy players? Your thoughts? I don't think this is embarrassing, I have to say. I think Arsenal have actually protected themselves very well from this. When Arsenal agreed that loan with Lazio last season, at the start of last season for Nuno Tavares, and put in the automatic 8 million release clause, not release clause, 8 million option to turn it permanent at the end of the season. No one complained. I certainly didn't complain. It was like, well, we get our money back on Nuno Tavares. That's fine. I don't think anyone expected him to have the start to the season that he had in Lazio. That start did fizzle out, by the way, because of injuries. So, there was no option, because that had been done at the time of the original loan agreement, to make the move permanent at the end of the year for, a fixed price. You couldn't go back on that. But what Arsenal also did was get an exceptionally high sell-on clause included in that deal once it turned permanent. And I'm talking like, I think it's about 35-40%. So as well as getting the 8 million that they got at the time, the guaranteed 8 million that they got at the time for Nuno Tavares, which was basically making the money back on a player who had massively underperformed and had struggled on loan. So I don't think that was a bad deal at the time. They also got this sell-on clause. So if this does happen, if Nuno does go for 30, 40 million, which is probably why Lazio are asking for such a high price to sort of flip this transfer on, Arsenal get not that much, not that sort of shy of half of that in sell-on coming back to them. So ultimately, you're looking, if Arsenal got sort of 12 million sell-on clause money back from him on top of the 8 million that they got at the time, they got 20 million for Nuno Tavares. So I don't think it's an embarrassing deal really at all, I have to say. Few more now. This is a long one, so I'm not going to read it all out, but it's from Love Henry, and he talks about the training camp in Spain that is now less than a month away, the sort of pre-season training camp that they're going to do in Marbella that they did last summer. And you were talking about, you say, I think the entire squad should go with their families. Josh foot a bill for the hotel costs for extra players. From what Mikel has alluded to, this is about the atmosphere. It's not about tenacious as day-to-day as London Colney or even during pre-season. Yeah, I mean, you're right. And this is the families did go last season as well. It was obviously a much smaller group last summer because of the Euros, but the families did go, and it was not like your sort of full-on camp that you would do in, say, Dubai or something like that. And it wasn't like being at London Colney. It was, you had a session. I think you had 2 sessions, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. But apart from that, your time was to do whatever you wanted with your family, relaxed, have all the family involved. And it was going to be bigger this time. I think pretty much everyone who can go will go. You know, there'll be some absentees, maybe the players who are on international duty, you know, Bukayo Saka, all those sort of players who are only going to go on holiday basically at the end of this week, once they're done with the internationals, or Ethan Waneri is away with England, another 21s at the moment. Those sort of players, I think, will probably come back after the pre-season training camp in Marbella ahead of the tour. But aside from that, everyone will go. So I think there'll be a lot of people heading over there, and I fully expect the families will go on that. And then quickly on Mohamed Kudus, who we spoke about a couple of days ago, and those links, lots of you getting in touch with that, and the sort of overwhelming majority seem to be good player, not at 85 million. Here's a few. Terry says, Kudus is a good player, but 85 million is far too much. He was outperformed last season by Cunha and Buemo, and both have gone for less. I doubt Semenyo would cost that much. I doubt Rodrigo would cost that much more. Good player, but we need a better deal if that is going to happen. Garrett says, way too expensive for Kudus, 45 million. Marks agrees, says 45 million tops. And Wiggy says, Kudus isn't the same player on the wings. He's much better in the 10. As for Sesko being unproven, what a load of 2 extremely solid seasons in Bundesliga and a major tournament under his belt. People are seriously blinded by the numbers when it comes to Gyökeres. Right, that's it from me today. Well, not today, as I'm coming back with James Bench a little bit later on for Inside Arsenal Extra Time. But that's it from me this morning. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'll speak to you all soon. Bye-bye.